something happening here. What it is ain't exactly clear. There's a man with a gun over there, telling me I got to beware. I think it's time we stop, children, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down. There's battle lines being drawn. Nobody's right if everybody's wrong. Young people speaking their minds are getting so much resistance from behind. Time we stopped. Hey, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down.
Hello, welcome to Day Release, and today we are talking about two films, recent-ish films, Mass and Pirates. Clive, do you want to do? I'm Robin, and this is Clive.
Hello.
Do you want to do the introduction to Pirates? Talk about what that's about, or shall I do it?
All right. Yeah. Okay. So this is so this came out tail end of last year, I think, right? And was a fairly big release in the UK. Is that fair to say?
No, I don't think I saw any publicity for it. No, really.
I'm assuming this was the kind of thing that would have had posters on the side of buses and things.
No, I don't think so. But maybe I just missed it because we were still in and out of lockdowns, I guess, when this was coming out.
Right.
Yeah, so it had a delayed, 2021. It had a sort of delayed release date. Maybe I did hear an interview with Reggie Yates. I did hear an interview on the radio with Reggie Yates.
The writer-director, who I guess is known as a DJ, and he was on Doctor Who, right, as well, for a while, I think.
Yes. Yeah. I'm seeing who he is. All right. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. So it's New Year's Eve, 1999.
Yeah. Y2K. Y2K.
Yeah, Y2K, right? And there's a trio of youngsters, as played by Elliot Idusa, Jordan Peters, and Reda Elazova. And Elliot Idusa plays like the other two, they're like they're DJs and MCs on a pirate rages. I mean, you don't really see much of them doing that. So, but I'm assuming one of them spins and the other one does shout out. So I'm not quite sure. I
think Yusuf is the one that does the. Well, I don't. Yeah, you don't really see much, no.
No. And Elliot Idusa's character is kind of like, quote unquote, their manager, right? Basically their friend, and he's the one who's kind of thinking about, moving on, going to university, and he's kind of. Has to tell them that he's, breaking up the band, right?
Yeah.
But let's have one big, New Year's party. So they want to get into the big, I guess it's a rave, right?
Yeah, it's a club, really. Oh no, it's not a club. It's sort of like an outdoor. It's one of those ones where you see all the posters about, I guess, and they're all, you still see them now where they're on lamp posts outside the or on traffic light.
It looked very much like post criminal justice bill kind of legit venue raves.
Yeah,
right?
It did seem like that. Yeah.
Because it's 99, right? So, and also Jordan Peters wants to get together with Cassius Nelson plays the girl of his dreams, right?
Okay.
Who, I had a bit of trouble kind of figuring out their relationship because, like, they're both clearly really into each other, and I couldn't figure out why they weren't already a couple. It was kind of weird.
Yeah, I thought it was okay. It was sort of like, I think that was sort of a teenager thing, really, was supposed to be, maybe, where it's sort of like, you know, it wasn't my experience as a teenager, but where you know, where a girl would be like looking at me completely in love with me, and I'd be like, if only she'd give me a sign. You know, I really need to try and get her to come. It was sort of the whole way through that, but that was sort of, I think that's one of those, maybe that's Reggie Yates's experience or something, or, you know, where it's sort of like, you just, the whole way through you're thinking, why are you trying so hard when she's already completely in love with you? I mean, as in, you know, trying so hard to woo her, and I think it's kind of sweet in a way.
Yeah, I suppose it's supposed to be. Yeah, I suppose it is kind of sweet. So so basically, the whole film is their adventures trying to get first tickets to get into this kind of exclusive rave, and then they need to get some threads, and then they lose the tickets, and they find them and blah blah. So it's basically it's that kind of
you suggested thing, this film because you said to me you didn't really know anything about like the garage music scene sort of thing.
Did I?
I think back when we were discussing it, but then you didn't really learn anything about the garage music scene.
No.
Not from
but it would have been in that era. I mean, it would have been in that era, right? I'm guessing 1990 would have still UK garage and house and garage, right? It was house and garage era.
Back in at that point, in 1999, I was doing in college, doing a little kind of documentary type, you know, music promo video with a friend of mine. For money for a garage band, and we went to their kind of gig. Although it was a massive warehouse, and it was like and I remember they were called Innocents, like, but they were kind of like, and everyone was wearing pajama suits and, you know, like, you know, the pajama suits. Anyway, but
I'm guessing there was an 8 somewhere in that name, somewhere awkwardly.
Possibly, I don't remember whether.
Insane.
Yeah, it was one of those ones where the 3 girls sing, kind of like, and then there's an MC who goes, you know, innocence inside, gonna move, because I edited it. I've got it fucking stuck in my head now. So, gonna move, gonna groove, gonna slip, gonna slide, innocence inside, Y2K, massive, and and it would like go on from there. It was so that was my only experience of garage, was going to that giant warehouse with loads of like really paranoid looking teenagers because nobody had turned up, and it was supposed to be, in a sense, is like big, or at least they were one of the acts. I think they were the main act, and like, so we had to then get some footage of other crowd, so have them on the stage going and then turn the camera around and then, you know, cut halfway through to this other footage of a giant crowd of people, a garage crowd of people, you know, with whistles and day glow stuff. Anyway, so that's my brush with garage. That's about it.
The thing about garage that interests me, because I remember garage being around, and I remember really totally hating it, actually, because it was one of those dance music styles that everyone got into. So like, if you would have been listening to a little bit of techno or jungle or anything like that previous, and it was a bit more kind of, but then suddenly, like, all the fucking, I don't know what you'd call the UK equivalent of jocks were, but like all those guys, you know, down the Moonraker internationally, and they were like, oh yeah, Ocean Garage, they were all into that shit, and I suppose in retrospect as well, you'd hear it everyone, you'd hear like builders and things listening to it, and I suppose in retrospect it was all on shitty tinny speakers and little radios as well, right? So it was all like
yeah.
It sounded really annoying. There was like no bass to it at all. But then later on, when I got into dubstep, I was really into dubstep, and then I found that a lot of those people who, became dubstep artists started off doing house and garage, right? Yeah. And then UK funky and stuff. So I was always, so is there actually good garage? Just I never heard it or didn't hear it in a proper sound system or.
Well, where were you in Y2K anyway? Where were you? Because weren't you in London
I was here. Yeah.
What? Not in Japan.
Yeah.
1999. Were you? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, anyway. When you were in London, did you ever listen to the pirate radio? I never really did, but I guess when you were in London, there would have been garage on the pirate radio stations. I don't think I ever really did, but I mean, I guess that's where you're going to find the good stuff, the better stuff.
I guess, yeah.
But also,
and again, the whole thing about hearing it on a proper sound system as well probably makes a difference. But yeah, so it just seems like a bit of a missing gap in my knowledge. I assume there's good stuff, but just
Well, they played some good stuff. They had some good tunes in the film, didn't they? I thought.
Yeah. But again, I don't know if it was because I don't know if I identified it as garage or not.
I didn't know. Yeah, I imagine it was because it was supposed to be a film about garage. So.
Well, I'm assuming so because the time period, but they never come out. No one comes out and says. No one mentions any. I mean, to be honest, there's not much. It's not really a film that much about music, is it?
No, it's not much really. It's just a sweet little film. It's a bit like the In-Betweeners, but with less kind of less kind of overt attempts at humor. It's more kind of just soft.
Yeah, well, and also it's less. It's not as white as the In-Betweeners.
Well, yeah,
right. That's the other major difference as well.
Yeah,
because all our major characters are black, right? Yeah. What do you? I mean, I found this film kind of likable.
Yeah.
Just not particularly hilarious. I mean, but it didn't irritate me, and I quite liked it. It was good natured.
It was good natured. It was nice to see a film with like black kids, teenage age kids in it that doesn't end in like or doesn't do any gangster stuff. Whatsoever.
No.
That was nice. I mean, not that there's anything like I wouldn't enjoy that, but it was nice to see that. And
exactly. Like you said, it's nice to see I
did find the commitment to the joke about the seatbelts. That was good. Just because I had a car like that, so that was fun. Yeah.
So I felt some jokes went over my head, particularly when they go to like that cafe with the very stern woman behind the counter.
Yeah.
And they got this back and forth about the pronunciation of some food that I'd never actually heard of before, I have to confess.
Plantain.
Yeah. I never heard of plantain.
You never heard plantain? Plantain. Yeah, fine. I'm saying plantain now, as if I would always say plantain, but I've only said plantain from the film.
Oh, okay.
I would have always said plantain before. Because I'm... Yeah,
what is it?
It's like a banana that's sort of bigger and you fry it and it, it's pretty nice. It's really nice with certain things. Yeah, I think so. And it's usually in Caribbean shops, but it's also used in sort of South American food as well.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm wondering if it's a little bit like, it sounds a little bit like the use of fried sweet potatoes in like Indonesia and around this part of the world. It seems like a similar usage, maybe.
Yeah, it's nice. It's nice. It's quite nice on its own, but you couldn't eat loads of it. Anyway, I don't know. It's a good film, and
you got Yusuf Kerko as their uncle, who's like a bit of a dodgy geezer, and he's one of those faces like you've seen a million times, but you don't necessarily know his name.
Yes, yeah. That's that guy. Yeah. That's what I thought he was. Yeah, because I haven't got IMDb app, so I can't look at who's. It was, he's. I've seen him everywhere, isn't it?
Yeah, he seems to be. And even I'm not. I don't see that much UK TV now, but it seems like I've seen him around forever somehow.
Yeah, it's not aged either. Yeah.
Right, I'm gonna have to.
Yeah, we'll
jump off.
Okay.
And then we'll get it together again.
Okay.
To enter my room. Oh, fucking cheeky fucking. Oh, there you go. All right.
Yeah. Well, we're still recording. Anyway.
Yeah, I bloody hope so, because I'm not.
Yeah, but should we say any more about that, or?
Yeah, I mean, it's odd in a way, because originally we were going to talk 3 things, and then another show ended up grabbing one third of what we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
And then the 2 films that we've got left, I find quite difficult to talk at length about either of them.
There's not a huge amount to say about them, which I think if
this may be our shortest show
they're
ever.
just sweet, that Pirates, and even just culturally, there's not a huge amount I can say that.
No, I would even go so far as, even though I did enjoy watching it, I would even go so far as to say, you know what? If you don't see it, that's fine as well. Like either way,
it's good. It's a nice little film to watch. I would recommend watching it.
Right.
So Pirates, that's Pirates. Let's move on to the next one.
Yeah.
Don't
worry. We can you can talk about George Floyd for an hour if you like.
do that. Should we talk about what's the other one we did? Mass. Yeah, Mass, which is sort of one extreme to another, really, because and they don't work together. They don't ever do them as a companion piece. If you're running a film festival,
Right. This seems to have been one of those films that slowly, I think it's actually from 2020, and then slowly leaked out at festivals and stuff, and it seems to have gained quite a good reputation, which is kind of why I wanted to talk about it, because it sounded as if it was the kind of film I might not get around to watching usually. It's not the kind of thing I would normally watch and write about, but it seems to have a very good reputation. People saying, "Oh, you got to see Mass." So I figured, okay, Robin's up for seeing things, so why not do it in this space?
It was good. It was like almost like a lockdown film. It's super low budget, and then I was interested in the fact is Francis Kranz, who was in
Frank Kranz,
who's in Dollhouse and is worked with Joss Whedon for a really long time.
Oh, okay. I have to admit, I didn't know who he was. I knew this was his directorial
his
debut,
face is really familiar to me. From from having watched most of Joss Whedon's stuff.
He's not in it, so he doesn't pop up as like a cameo or anything. Right? He's not in it at all, is he?
No, I don't think so. I would have recognised him then. No,
Right.
But who he is as who the characters he's played or whatever, I don't know. It's not the kind of thing if I would have picked any actor and I don't know that I know of, it wouldn't have been him that I would have gone, oh yeah, that would, oh, it's so Fran Kranz, but then I don't know the guy. But anyway,
Right.
it's kind of like it's almost like it would be something that if Ben Affleck and thingy got together again, Matt Damon got together and wanted to take themselves ultra seriously again, they'd do that, and everyone would be really impressed by them. But so it's like a serious actor piece,
It's an actor's film. It feels like a stage play, actually.
Yeah,
as well.
yeah, it does.
That
But also maybe
What's
just
it about? What's it about, Robin?
What's it about? It's about so it's nice. Starts nicely with the kind of like there's a church, and they're preparing this room in the back of the church, for something, and they try to keep it subtle. Although I did guess as it was going on that it was it was too.
Yeah, we're gonna slightly spoil this, I suppose. Although I don't think it really matters either way. So.
But yeah, I didn't. It didn't take me that long to guess that it was two families meeting about and one of them was bereaved family of a child who'd been killed, and the other one was I guess that when it was the posters the room that they used was used as a nursery by the church as well, so and the woman that comes in to prepare the room,
right, the Diddery woman.
Yeah, she looks at the other woman. Sorry, the
one who's setting it up.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, the go between who's
she points out that what do they have to be here? There's in the children's artwork on the windows. That's when I twigged. Okay, it's a school shooting. Family.
So you didn't know anything about this film before?
No, I didn't know anything about the film, but
okay.
Because of the context, I could work out that it was a school shooting thing because you could tell it was building up like.
And the title, right? Mass as well, I guess.
Yeah, mass doesn't have huge connotations for me, but I know it's like a death thing, but I don't know anything about the church at all. So, but yeah, yeah. So,
no, I was thinking more along the lines of mass shooting is the phrase.
Oh yeah, of course. That didn't occur to me at all.
Okay.
But it was just it was just the context of how that woman, the Dithery woman, was behaving and the how
good dithering.
Dithery? Did you call her Dithery?
Dithery, it's good dithering. She's good at dithering.
Yeah, good dithering. Yeah,
dithering well. Yeah.
Yeah. She did churchy dithering very well. Yeah.
Yeah, she seemed like a very much a relatable someone you've met. Right?
Yeah. Someone definitely know. Anyway, so and then it that's what it is. There's two families. One of them's, their child has been shot. The other one, their child.
Yes, that's Reed Burney as the father and Ann Dowd as the mother, and then parents of the kid who was killed, Jason Isaacs and Martha Plimpton, right?
Yeah, so Martha Plimpton's probably the most famous actor in it, would you say?
Yeah,
I suppose it's the one I recognise most.
And then Reed Burney, I guess. Well, Martha Plimpton, I mean, she was in like the Goonies, right?
Yeah, she's like a teen, she's always been that kind of funny looking one.
Yeah, no, I've always really liked Martha Plimpton. We talked about it on the podcast as well because she's in Pecker as well, right? She's the sister in Pecker.
Right.
And I've always thought Martha Plimpton's a class act. She can do a lot. She can do comedy. She can do serious as this kind of shows, and she's good. She's one of a one of those slightly undervalued actors, I think. Like,
Yeah, maybe underused, maybe.
yeah,
But,
people don't necessarily think of her as one of our, people bang on about her, like Meryl Streep or something,
Yeah.
But
Well,
but
maybe they
Matheson
will.
doesn't-
I mean, is this been tipped for any Oscars or anything? It's also one of those ones where you think it's not a cynical Oscar grabbing film. No, it doesn't come across
no.
like that, but it does come across as a film that would get the Oscar nominations out
Yes.
and all that.
Yes, but unfortunately, I guess because it isn't cynical and Oscar baiting, it hasn't been up for anything. I don't think. Which and
amazing.
We should say, the performances are fantastic. Right, that is the one.
They are.
Thing. Yeah.
I mean, and the writing is really good. I don't know if it's part improvised or I don't know how much. I haven't really read much about it, but I don't know if it was part improvised, but it was. The reactions were really carefully thought out and well done, and the way that the tension builds between them and things. Having said all that, it didn't move me massively. It just I enjoyed it. I enjoyed watching it and stuff. But I think I was saying to you, it doesn't feel like my fight in a way. I live in Britain.
Yes.
We don't have guns necessarily, and we don't really we have a lot of stabbings, but we don't have mass shootings, and it's actually quite difficult to. We're not in that argument, and so it's quite difficult.
And in a way, it's to the film's benefit. Is they don't really go that direction either, right? It's not really a film. It's not really a film about that. It's not the debate about the guns, which is good because that makes it more. It's more just about, grieving and forgiveness and kind of reaching across the aisle and all that stuff more than it is. I mean, there's a few little moments. In fact, there's a very pointed kind of like Martha Plimpton's character says it, but like when the conversation starts going that way, because clearly the Jason Isaacs character and the Reed Birney character have different views on gun control. It's hinted at, and she just says, "Look, I didn't fucking come here to talk about this. I didn't come here to talk politics, right?"
But I do. That's exactly though why I do think that if you are an American and you are going to be clearly affected by this by now, like because it sort of just keeps happening again and again, and every time it's always horrible and shocking here, but at the same time, there's the political climate is still there. So what are Americans basically feeling when she says that? In other words, because they're part of the context and they're part of everything that goes around this film. So they're almost like, they're the reason for it and so I just wonder what they're, so in other words, with grieving, all that stuff doesn't matter because, what's done is done in a way or whatever. But and also the thing is, you say that they, she does, or she says that she doesn't want to make it about, she doesn't want this to be about politics. But then as it progresses, her character wants to know basically whether the parents fucked up and whether she can hook some form of blame onto it that will explain away her feelings that would explain away for her the idea that that it's sort of like that it's wider issues or something,
Yeah, well, it would be so much easier for them in a way if the two parents came in, with NRA badges on or something, and were like obviously kind of gun-toting you know, Second Amendment
Yeah.
people, right? But they're not, right? Yeah, I know what you mean. I thought it was a good film as well, and it was gripping. But again, I appreciated it objectively more than I really enjoyed it, or was particularly moved by it. Yeah, and
It's
I'm
like
wondering if it's something to do with, like you said, because it's not my fight, or it's something that I'm slightly like you. I do find it slightly mind-boggling that this stuff happens again and again and again and again, and then. But then I suppose you could argue that the characters in the film as well. I mean, they treat it almost as if like it's beyond their control as well, right? So just because you have a vote doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to feel empowered enough to.
Yeah. It's not that. It's just that without the guns, that particular situation wouldn't exist. You know, like we don't have that in Britain. You could have a situation where two families, there's a knife crime, and so if you could have a similar situation, but a mass shooting is so peculiar to the United States that it sort of alienates you, because you think, well, without that mass shooting, this entire scenario doesn't exist. Like, and that doesn't mean you don't care for these people and stuff like that. It's just that you don't. The entire context for the existence of this scenario, can't exist without the existence of, semi-automatic firearms, readily available and all that. So it's kind of, it feels difficult to kind of immerse yourself in it. I literally don't know if I was exactly the same person, but I'd grown up in America. I can't know, or I don't know how I'd watch that film. I don't know what I would be, what the difference would be at all. Would there be, because it feels completely alien. It's weird.
So you said that. So imagine it's the same film, right? It's the same basic setup, but like you said, it's the victims of some kind of stabbing crime, right?
Yeah.
Let's say you have the parents of one child who went on a bit of a stabbing spree. Let's say he managed to get to 3-4 people and then stabbed himself. I mean, unlikely for someone to stab themselves to death than shoot themselves. But let's say,
But it's so unlikely that would be like a miracle story. Not just the stabbing them, but that to be able to do a high school massacre, right?
Yeah.
Specifically a high school massacre, because you can't generalize. You do actually have to be fairly specific, like to walk into a large building, right, with security and oftentimes as well, or whatever, with lots of, and carry out a mass murder of people, like,
right,
it's fucking impossible with a knife. Like you would not be able to do it. The closest we've got in this country is acts of terror, and that's usually with a van, like that. That's why Al Qaeda, and IS have come up with different ideas to try and cause mayhem, and kill as many people as possible. But they very rarely involve knives. They involve bombs, or the knives are sort of like a. I mean, I don't want to, it's too graphic, but it's like I say, it's just it's not really that easy to put yourself,
It's interesting you say that about security, and I'm just wondering if, so for instance, both your kids go to school, right?
Yeah.
Do your children's school have security?
No, the college I work at does. Some of them do, yeah. Like you have now you have I mean, now you have, and it's funny that because nothing that much has changed, but you have large gates and locked and key cards, and no one can get in unless they're part of the college and all that stuff, or the school
Oh,
or
okay.
things
So
like
that's changed from like our day. You
Yeah,
could just
yeah,
wander
yeah,
the
yeah,
campus,
You
right? So
just
that's changed.
yeah. So yeah, you
That's
can't.
not just a London versus the rest of
No,
UK
no,
thing.
it's pretty much most of
Right.
the UK now. As I think is, I don't know actually. I don't know actually. Maybe where we went to colleges. So anyway, I don't know. It doesn't make the film. You know, it doesn't mean you don't empathise with the characters and stuff like that. It's just that the entire concept for the film doesn't exist in this country. You can't make that film
Right.
in this country,
Right.
and
So
a lot of the time
you don't feel entirely 100% qualified maybe to speak to its effectiveness.
as an audience member, so
Right.
when you watch a film and it does grab you emotionally, usually it's because of something you can relate to, isn't it? And I don't think it is something you can relate to in Britain because of the peculiarities of that particular thing. I don't know if you felt like that, but it was not something I was like politically trying to do, like, I won't empathize with this film because I don't. It was more just didn't find it grab me emotionally because, and I think that's the reason.
Well, I mean, it's nice of you in a way to give the film the benefit of the doubt, because it could also just be that the film just doesn't grab you. Like, even if you were a Yank, maybe.
I don't know.
It's entirely possible, right? But like you said, you don't feel necessarily qualified to fully pass judgment. On it.
Exactly. Yeah, because it could be that because it's in this sort of stayed is the word, I guess. Environment is in this. It's almost too real, so it could be that it doesn't do. But the weird thing about the film, I don't know if this is a spoiler, but I want to know what your view on so there was one bit where they used the sound motif of so they have the ribbon on the fence.
Oh yes.
And then they use that noise, like industrial noise, and then they use that again with the dad of the.
Yes, when he gets angry and he shouts, and it cuts. It's the only time we cut away from the room, right? Like to deflate tension or something. And it goes to an exterior shot of the ribbon.
No. Oh,
not that one. Oh, okay.
That bit, but then. Okay, but the bit that I'm thinking of is when basically they all have again this is a spoiler, so, but
okay.
I mean.
I don't think it's a film that spoilers really.
I don't know, but don't listen to it if anyway. But is that they have a moment of silence, and then he's like sort of impatient. He's the only one who's doesn't seem to. So he's banged on about empathy, and like they tried to attack him on the idea that his son had no empathy. And that it was, somehow maybe his fault, and they were trying to insinuate that there must be something else there, like, as in the bereaved parents are trying to insinuate that, he might maybe, just trying to probe basically to find out whether he was going to cave and say, I sexually abused my son or whatever, or trying to probe to find clues as to whether there was something like that going on.
Yeah, I got the feeling more than that, not so much abuse, more there were some hints that he was a bit of an absent father or something like that.
Well, no, that was what I'm trying to say is that was there was subtext for me, right? So there was what the reality was that he was an absent father-ish, right? But that he did try his best, and then the subtext was that they were trying to find a clue that would satisfy their. In other words, if he'd abused him or done something terrible, you know, then that would be it. You know, they would have that closure.
Right.
They'd have that, like,
Right.
oh, right, well, you know.
A concrete reason
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
And then, but then he gives a really good account of himself, in a way, and his actions. You know, so he goes on a defensive, you know, and I liked the way that the camera moved incredibly slowly in order to kind of like frame the argument from their point of view and then slowly move over to the other people's point of views and stuff like that. It's great. But he gives a really good sort of a you know, a defense of his character, you know, by you know, and all those things, like I say, all those things are really relatable anyway. But the school shooting thing is not. But he yeah, gives a really good account of himself. Says how he you know, he tried, and then also the dad of the bereaved kid goes on about, you know, his son's last moments and how the other, you know, the killer's son circled back to shoot him while he was crawling across the floor. And then what we find out is that the dad of the killer's kid had memorized every steps of every single thing that the you know, that every single victim had gone through. And yet then when they have this moment of silence, right, because the dad of the bereaved kid is going, you know, like, you know, trying to imply that he's a psychopath, you know, and if he's a psychopath, then that means that, you know, anyway, it can either mean that, you know, he's been damaged by something like, you know, so they had that conversation, you know, like something like sexual abuse. They did hint at it, and then yeah, it goes. Yeah, they have this moment of silence at the end, and they're you know, it's like it's supposed to be a profound moment where they all realise, you know, that it's no one's fault, and you know, and that they've learned something, you know, learned how to let go, and he's just sitting there impatiently. And he's like, wow, and breaks the silence when it's not, they're all having a really like connected moment. And he's like, wow, I really ought to be off. And then it turns to him and it goes and that was the only bit where the sound background sound was really like jarring and obvious. But it didn't, so it almost implied that he had abused his son or something, or, you know, by doing that, just by doing that sound. But I didn't work out what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, no thoughts on that bit?
Not really. I didn't. I have to admit, I didn't really. That hadn't occurred to me. I didn't notice that.
But it was like a really jarring thing to me, like because when you, that do you like that industrial sort of sound they used, it was quite jarring, but for most part it wasn't centered on a character necessarily. But you said he used it on him once. Anyway, so thoughts on that? Put them in the comments. Only don't, because please don't. There you go. Like and subscribe.
Yeah, I mean, Pirates aside, good fun.
Yeah.
Mass.
Is it worth watching?
Yeah.
I think it's worth watching. Ish.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose my major takeaway is I'm not sure if I really like. I think it's a good film for younger viewers. Like if you were a teenager, I think Mass would maybe hit you a little bit harder, because it might, you know, kind of introduce concepts of like, yeah, forgiveness and stuff like that seem a little bit more profound. But yeah. I didn't get anything, and this is not a problem with the film. It's just, you know, it didn't necessarily give me anything, you know, like, God damn, I never thought about it like that before. You know, like,
yeah.
It was reinforcing beliefs I already had rather than introducing me to new concepts.
Yeah.
Right?
It didn't. Exactly. Again, that's where I come back to the fight within America. Like that, it was thrashing out those points of view, like who's to blame, why, you know, and how do we reconcile with each other. And I'm like already like, you know, I don't have a problem forgiving, you know.
Yeah, like you said, yes, it's not really a debate that means as much to us, really, is it?
Yeah, but I also don't. I wouldn't